All right, they're telling me it's being streamed, so just a moment. All right, it has started. So let's now go ahead. All right, so function, parameters, and arguments. So parameters are specified when a function is being defined or created, okay? So that the function can accept arguments, okay? In simple terms, parameters are the variables and arguments are the values. Like I said, these come in interviews, and it's one of those small things. I hear some feedback, like, is it coming from my side or is it coming from one of you? Okay, it's coming
Me,
from
I'm
one of you.
mute.
Okay, so I think Peter, you were unmute. There's some funny audio feedback. So,
Is it coming
all
from
right.
my side?
Yeah, try to mute and I check. Yeah, it was coming from your side because now it's super, super silent. So now, how do we do that? And why do we even define the parameters? We want the function to accept things. So for example, we may have a script where we have name here, okay? We may have a name, and that name is David Wampamba. Now we write a function. You remember how we write a function in PHP? We write a function which should output name, okay? Now, what happens is that it's very easy if we come here and say echo name. Oh, excuse me. If we say echo name and we call the function, because this over here is the function definition. Here you are describing your function because you even use the keyword function. You give your function a name, and this is the function body in the brackets. Then you invoke the function, invoke or use the function, okay? But I'm going to demonstrate what happens before using the function. So this code has been saved. And if I go to here and refresh, you see nothing on the browser window. The reason you are seeing nothing, it's because we've not yet invoked the function. So around here, I can say define or declare a function, okay? Called output name. Now, over here, we shall invoke this function. And the way we invoke the function is by specifying its name and putting the parentheses and close, terminate the statement. So because when you invoke a function, the code in the function body is expected to be processed, and if the code has something that outputs a value, the value will be output. So now let's go to the browser and check it. There you go. So they are telling me undefined variable name on line 12. So this means that on this line, they are not able to see this, okay? They are not able to see what is outside the function definition, okay? There's a special way of doing it by adding a name, a keyword global to a keyword global before the name of the variable. Oh, it's actually, I think I can't do it this way. I think I have to first create here, get it, then create another name. And or do I just get it like this? Yeah, I just get it like that. Then down here, I echo it. So the global keyword tells PHP that there is a variable outside this function. And that variable that is out this function, I want to use it. So if you want to use it, you write the keyword global and the name of the variable. So in this function they are brought. Now, if we go to the browser and refresh, we see the name David Wampamba. However, if we see this, if we call this function again, because we said that a function is a named block of code, and the only reason you have named blocks of code is to avoid the repetition, to avoid repeating certain pieces of code, so that whenever you want those pieces of code to run, you refer to the name of the piece of that code. So if I have like a piece of code that performs additions of numbers, I don't want to be, defining the code that adds numbers over and over and over again. I just want to define this code once and for all, and then start adding numbers. Now, see this, if I call our output name twice, okay, in fact, let me put a break line on this one so that we can see properly. So if I call this function twice, what do you think is going to happen? Some volunteer open the microphone and tell me what you think is going to happen. Okay, no one. So has someone opened the microphone and they want to go? Okay, looks like no one. So if I call that same function twice, it's going to do the code in that function is going to be processed, because these are just instances. These are just duplicates, So however number of times I call it, the name David Wampamba is going to appear. So what if I want to use it? Go ahead.
It doesn't matter the amounts of output you insert. It will still output the name.
Exactly. It will still output the name because it has, in its body, there's only name. But I want you to realize that it's outputting only one name. But we may want to output Peter, we may want to output Nyaichi Feni, we may want to output Maureen Caroline with the same function without rewriting code. Let me show you something. If we don't understand how to use functions properly, what is going to happen is that to a poor developer, this is what they are going to do. They are going to say name to equals Peter. Peter, is that your name? Like that?
Yes, it is.
All right, that's great. So it's gonna do this, and they are gonna do this, and they are gonna write output, output name 2. Then they are gonna come here and copy this code and paste it, and paste it, and then put here name 2 and name 2. Then they will come and put here execute name 2. So let's see.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Back to the editor. I was wondering why you skipped after closing the bracket between 35 and 34 and 35.
Why I
was
skipped? Why I put a space?
why you skipped twice?
No,
And
I
yet,
didn't skip
and yet,
I didn't
and
skip
yet,
twice intentional.
oh,
So even if I don't skip or I skip, it will still work.
oh,
You get, yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't intentional. Yeah. So they are going to do this. And if they want to do, like, if they want to now output Fanny, they are going to copy this code like that. And they are now going to start putting 3 and like that. But you see how the code is growing bigger on a smaller thing. Do you see that? On a smaller thing, the code is growing bigger and bigger. We already have 44 lines just for outputting 3 names. So, okay, let's just remove this and we say, so if I scroll down, we already have 39 lines of code just to display 3 names. So that's when you realize that, oh, my code is poor. So, oh, wait a moment. I wanted to output on this third. I wanted to output, where is it? On this third, I wanted to output so, okay, here I have to write 2. Okay, so like I said, we have those many lines of code to output only 3 names.
I thought it was supposed to be the third one.
On which line of code?
29.
No, 29 is with this. From 21 up to 29. From 31 up to 39, it's another. Okay.
Oh, I see. I
So,
didn't see.
yeah, so we can avoid these kind of repetitions. Okay. So, what function parameters and function parameters and arguments help us write more cleaner and maintainable code? Okay, because just imagine if I gave you this code base, you'd be like, imagine you have to output like 1,000 names and the fella gives you this code with 1,000 of them. That means that that would be the worst thing. Okay, so we can avoid all of this by, so I'm going to comment all of this. Okay, all of this. So, and in fact, I'll put it here that poor code. Just a moment, poor code example. Then I'll close it over here. And I think I need to uncomment this one and this one. Okay. What I'm gonna do, I have to use a shortcut for commenting these lines of code. Otherwise, they will just kill me too. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. So that was the poor example. All right, now here we start using arguments now and parameters. So what we are going to do, because we want to output the name of someone, we are going to rewrite our function by saying function output name. We shall open the parenthesis and put name here. Okay. You see how we've put name here? Okay. In the middle of the parenthesis. Let me hope someone is seeing. Then here we are going to say echo name and put a comma and break the line. Okay. This is not closing properly. It's not well formatted. So it's well formatted now. Now, if I want to output the name David Wampamba, all I'm going to say is output name. Then in the middle here, I'll put my name, David Wampamba. And then I will put a colon. Now, what is going to happen is that this is a function call on line number 47, and line number 43 is a function definition. So the function call will work hand in hand with the function definition, and it will replace, it will take what I've put here and replace it here. So that means if what I've put here is David, it's going to put David here, that David Wampamba, and that means when it reaches the echo statement, it will be echoing out David Wampamba. So if we go and check it, let me see if there's anybody in the chat. Just a moment. My God.
You need to close your screen.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Don't worry.
Okay.
So, yeah. Let me check over here. So, let's go. Now, what is going to happen is that the name David Wampamba is going to be output like that. Now, I want us to go back to the code and compare this line with this one. Which one is longer code? Which one is shorter code? Which one is easier to remember? And which one is harder to remember? We are comparing code from line number 35 to 41 with line number 43 to 47. Which one is shorter and which one is easier to remember?
I think the second one is easier to remember.
For me, the from line number 35, that's very easier to remember, to get.
It's very easier to get. What do you mean to get?
To understand, like to remember.
Are you sure you will be able to remember the global keyword? Always. And will you even be able to remember what it means?
Now that's something I have to practice on a daily basis because apparently, as I see it, it's far easier for me to recall it.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So, yeah, okay. Fanny said like the second one is easier to remember, and no one answered which one is shorter.
The second one is shorter.
Yeah. So the second one is shorter. And I
Yeah.
would be honest with you, Peter, this first one is longer, but also hard to remember. The reason I'm saying it's hard to remember is because if you have a large code base, you may not know that you need to call a variable globally. You may not know. And you'll be there scratching your head and wondering why the function is not outputting the name. Yet you did not call the name globally. So,
Oh,
yeah, so this one, the only thing you may forget, which I don't think that you can forget, is that this is called a parameter, but the value is called an argument. And we said that the value that is specified when you are calling the function is swapped or assigned to the value of with the parameter. So let me show you another good thing about this. You see, with this format, we went on defining output name 3, output name 2. So that means if you wanted 100 names, we would have to say output name 100, then do this again. But with this one, you are just going to duplicate this code. Have you seen line number 48? And you are going to write Peter Bulafu. I don't know if I've pronounced your name rightfully.
yeah, it is that.
Okay, thank you. So then here we shall put Nyaich Feni. Now, do you realize something? Let's go and output, and then I come back with a question. Do you see that we have David Wampamba, Peter Bluff, and Nyaichi Feni? And what is happening is that before I even explain what's happening, what are you noticing? If we compare these lines of code with the ones before, what are we noticing? This is line number 43 to line 49. That means those are 6 lines of code, or
And
about 7.
I
Yeah,
think
7.
that the difference I can say is that from line 35, first scroll up a little bit.
From line 35,
we were declaring, sorry, from line 33, we are declaring the name, while on line 40, we are just naming a variable and then we just outputting that function. Sorry, we have a function which is name. Function is called output name. And then the one you were calling arguments, those are
the parameter.
Yes, the parameter, which is the name. And then we are just outputting the name down. Whereas in the first one, we were creating a variable, which is the name, and then we output. Okay, I don't know if you even understood it.
Yeah, I understand, though it's hanging there in the balance. Yeah, Peter, go ahead.
Well, this from line number 43 seems to be much simple. But I think they are different. They are different in terms of this line number 43 is a function. Seems to be a function, and the above seems to be something I don't recall. I don't recall
So,
from 30.
I want you to put attention, okay? I would like you to put attention to from line number 10 or from line number 11 up to line number 42, okay? That means those are about what? From 10 to 42, those are about 32 lines of code to output 3 names. But then from line number 45 up to line number 51, we are only having 7 lines of code to output 3 names. Imagine 7 versus 32. You get. And the other thing is that I have to explain to you is that for this line, for this code from line number 10 up to line number 42, we were repeating ourselves. We were creating the name again and creating the function again and then calling the function. Those are 3 steps. Create the function, create the name, recreate the function, and then call the function. Those 3 steps, repeating them is one of the worst things that can happen to you. That's one of the reasons you'll never be paid. But then on line number 45 up to line number 51, the only thing we are repeating is invoking the function and providing a value to the function. When Fanny was breaking down the things, there's a time when she reached and said, I don't know what you called them, but that's what I started with. Then in this function here, name, let me put some comments. At name is a parameter. We define the parameters if we go back, okay? Yeah, I have to insist on this, guys, because if I don't, you may take it for granted. But please, you don't need to take it for granted. So I said that name is a parameter. And if we go back here and we say parameters are specified when a function is being defined. When is the function being defined? When the moment you use the keyword function, that means you are defining or describing or declaring a function. So if we say that is being defined or created so that the function can accept arguments. And even we come back and say, in simple terms, parameters are the variables and arguments are the values. So what that means is that this is a variable. If you started with me, you know how we create variables. Then the name David Wampamba cannot be a variable because it's just a value that is supposed to be set on the name. So, and these functions are just instances or copies. They are instances or copies, okay, of this function. But each copy goes with its own value because each copy runs its own code. That's why we call it a named block of code. Yeah, so I guess we've understood. So if I want to output more names, this is going to be very easy because, say for example, I want to output the names of the members of this, of this mentorship. I will just create my array and I'll say the students, I'll say Peter. I'm going to put just the first name, Fanny, Caroline, David, that's a neuro, not me. There's Stephen.
There is Peter.
Peter is the first, don't you see? There is Sharon. Have you seen Peter here?
Yes, I just wanted you to retype. I thought you would retype it.
This guy. Then there is probably those are the ones I can recall. Oh no, there's Henry, because you can easily recall the people who have
There
been
is 4H.
attending. Who?
4H.
Yeah, that's Henry. Yeah. OH is Henry Onyango. So I create my array. And after creating my array, I want to find a way my function can output these names. And we've already looked at what? We've already looked at loops. So all I'm gonna do is to use the loops and say for each student as a student, every time you are working the array, call the output name. And then here, the value output is the student. And this loop is going to run through all of these values. So each time it runs it through these values, it will be assigning the position it is, it will be getting the value there, and then it will output, it will assign it to a student variable, and then that variable is going to be passed here, but this time it's passed as a value. So not as a definition. Now, because here we are not calling this function, we are not using the function keyword here, which means we are just invoking the function. So you are going to see the magic. That's it. All of them have been output, but by how many lines of code? If these are, without considering the comments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we are outputting a number of names. If we just add names like, let me say, if we just add names like Kat, names like
Dennis,
Brenda, you know, okay, just a moment. Okay, Brenda, you said Dennis?
yeah.
You know, oh, David has come. So if we just decided to output these names, to add these names, we are not going to do anything on this line of code. We shall just go to the browser, refresh, and the names are put. Do you see that? That's it.
Yeah,
so
very easy and simple and interesting.
Very easy, simple, and interesting. And the good thing is that we've been able to use part of the prior knowledge we used before, okay? So, guys, functions with arguments is an important thing. It's a nice thing. You just have to get to know what an argument is, what a parameter is, and what they are used for. And you need to practice. The thing of leaving this class and you feel like, oh my God, I'm done for today. My dear. So in this case, I'll write a student is considered an argument. That's it. Okay. A student is considered an argument. So, but here, name is considered a parameter. So, and if we refresh, nothing has changed. The other were comments to guide you. Okay, so we have defined one which has just a name. And but we can define many parameters so that the function can accept more arguments. And this time we are going to try to do the addition so that you continue to see how parameters and arguments are more vital. So I'll go ahead and comment out this code over here. I'll go ahead and comment out that code. And then I'm going to do here a function which adds numbers, add numbers, okay? And we want numbers. We are going to try to go back as if we were just starting so that you get to understand more. So we are going to put here A plus B. Okay, and we say, let's output it. Let the function output it. After outputting it, let the function create a break line. And we said that when we create a function but do not invoke it, nothing appears on the screen. Okay, so I'll test that out first. Indeed, nothing is appearing on the screen because we've not invoked this function. But then, if I invoke this function, there's an error I'm expecting. Are you also expecting an error?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, why?
Because the value
Okay, so that's great. So if I go here, you see warning undefined variable A, undefined variable B on line 65. Okay, so we are not getting anything. Now we come here and define A and assign it 10. B, we assign it 30. Do you still expect an error or not? Hello?
No.
Hello,
No
Peter.
error.
David, first hold on. Peter, do you expect an error or not? Is Peter on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think while I check through.
Yeah, you relate with the previous, you know?
Look, there won't be a problem.
There won't be a
There won't
problem.
be yeah.
Fanny, do you not see anything?
If you could scroll up a bit.
Just a moment. Let me see what Fanny has.
I think it's going to add A plus B.
Okay.
Because
so
we created a function, add numbers, and then the numbers which we have given them variables A and B. And then here we are echoing it on line 67. And on line 70, we are calling the function to add the two numbers. So it's going to pick those two numbers and then add them.
Okay, let's see. Peter, I remember you told me to scroll up a bit. So I've scrolled up a bit for you.
Yeah, I'm quite sure now it's going to add up.
You are quite sure?
Yeah.
In any case, it doesn't add up.
I am lying down to my canes.
No, this teacher doesn't cane.
Any punishment is welcome.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. No, don't trust. Don't trust. You'll be crucified for no reason. Let me show you. Do you see that? Peter, I did this purposely for you, Peter. Do you know why?
No.
Because there's a moment you told me that the other one is easier to remember. And not 30 minutes later, you've already forgotten. So that's why I was saying that that scenario is not good at all. Okay? Remember that? So there is something called scope. At which time in the, I think in the word, is it in the compiler? At which time is a variable existing, or when is a certain block of code able to access a certain variable? If you've been using JavaScript, this with JavaScript and Python, this would have been okay. With the PHP, it's not, because they consider that whatever is outside the function is not accessible to the function until when you say global. So that's why, Peter, I wanted you to see if you remember, because you had told me that this would be easier to remember. You see, and I told you immediately that you will forget the global keyword. And that's it. So now if I go back to the browser.
So many sounds what be?
Yeah, that's it. Kasta ochitegede. That's the best, the most important thing is that if we don't define arguments, I mean parameters, we are going to find it always hard. You know, now imagine if we want to now change, if we want to call this function again and have A transformed to, and have A have values like, let's say, if I would have to put it here and say B, let me say, I say A equals 20. Now, if I call this function, it's gonna be able to output 50 and 40, but we don't want to be writing such dirty code. You see, it's outputting. But now if we want to output more and more and more and more additions, we shall continue to be as recreating the A and B again, A and B again. Yeah, that's when we decided to say that, you know what, let's introduce the concept of arguments. So now in this case, we would say add function, add numbers, and we would say A, we would put A here, comma B, and we will just write our function definition. In fact, this time, instead of writing the function definition with the echo, we will do return A plus B. Okay. Now, here we shall echo the function. Add. Why are we echoing the function? Anyone who is quick? Anyone who is quick? We are trying to add the knowledge we learned on Saturday. Was it Saturday? Yeah. Why are we echoing the function? Yet here we've just been invoking it without echoing it out. And now Peter is afraid because he doesn't want to be ashamed. Please give it a try. I don't want to feel like I'm a bad teacher.
I'm letting this one pass me.
Mm-hmm. You've left it pass you. Okay.
I'll catch up on the next one to come.
All right, no problem. So Someone?
I think we are echoing the function so that we can get the, because we have already, the calculation is in the return. So we just want to display the results, the return. Okay. I don't know if that's the right word. So like if we do the return there, we have to echo it. Yes.
Yeah. So exactly, you are right. Because the value, the function returns the evaluation of this expression. And it just returns, but does not put it on the output, or it does not put it on the display. If it's a TV, consider that the TV is on, but you've not switched to the channel you want. So, all right. Let's go on and see. You see, we are getting a 40 properly. And this means that if we want to change from 40 to 50, it would be easy. We would just echo our function again and change one of the values. We can change this to 20. Okay. I will echo a break line to break the results so that they don't mix up on one line. I want them to be separate on different lines. And we shall do that. So we are able to get the 50. If we want another, we shall just duplicate this code and we can put as big numbers as we want. And we shall get the right value. That's it. So what this helps you, what this shows you is that when you know what you're doing, when you know the fundamentals, you can, code becomes part of, your friend, and you know what you're going to do. Imagine we are able to add all these numbers with just fewer lines of codes. But here we're adding, we just got 2 results, but we were like, we had to rewrite the code. So that's it, guys. I would like to stop there. Let me say hi to David, and let David say hi to us, and we call it the day. So I'm stopping the stream for now.
I want to be curious a bit.